I've had this like silly, fake, but not so fake obsession with getting on the famous cruise cake list. Tom has like this crazy, list of collaborators and friends that he sends a cake to every year at the holiday season. At the last Mission Impossible premiere, I shot my shot and I said to Tom, the only thing I love more than Tom Cruise movies is coconut cake. 7 months later, I got my coconut cake.
Oh my God. How was it?
Honestly.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Obsessed, the podcast. I'm Kevin Fallon, here to guide you through all the TV shows, movies, and celebrity nonsense that we think is unmissable. And this is our very special holiday episode. Yes, bitch, I'm working on a holiday. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. It is President's Day. What a lovely time to remember our President of the United States. Could not be more proud. But to distract from that, we have a very special treat for you. I am talking with the man who has spoken to every single celebrity there is. And I'm not kidding, like every A-list star this guy has talked to. Every TikTok and viral video of a celebrity at a press junket and they say something crazy or funny that goes viral. This is the person who asked them that question. He is Josh Horowitz. He is celebrity interviewer extraordinaire, host of several podcasts, including his new one, Who's a Good Guest, where in this age where chicken wings are apparently the big ticket to landing an A-lister on your podcast, he has flipped the script and instead said, bring your dog. He is interviewing big stars with their dogs. And when I tell you it is adorable and these people are saying things they never would have said because they're disarmed by the comfort of their furry friend, I'm telling you the truth. It is so much fun. We get into the secrets of interviewing celebrities, his craziest stories. He tells me something about his interactions with Tom Cruise. Yes, this person has interactions with Tom Cruise that blew my mind. It is so much fun. We're going to get into all the juicy stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the people who we hate to talk to. Yes, we go there. So please stick around because here is Josh Horowitz. Hello, Josh Horowitz. How are you?
I'm good. How's it going, Kevin?
It's going well here. You genius bastard. Here we are thinking that every celebrity interview has to involve chicken wings. But you're like, you know what? Let's bring in dogs. Let's do that instead.
Yeah, and chicken wings and dogs don't go well together. We're not going to do that. They're going to be choking on it. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is my little baby. That's Who's a Good Guest is a marriage of everything I love.
Can't read that title without saying it in like the human talking to a dog voice, like, who's a good guest?
Who's a good guest? Yeah, who's a good guest? The mission accomplished. That's half the battle. Yeah, this is honestly. I mean, I shudder to call it a pet project because I'm not a fan of puns, but it is truly a pet project. It's a passion of mine. Of course, I've been doing celebrity interviews for 1,000 years, but I'm also an insane dog parent. And I wanted to put the two together. There have been, we've seen BuzzFeed, Puppy Quiz, all that kind of fun stuff, but I don't think we've ever seen the celebrity with their dog. And we've shot 6 episodes of this really fun series with Zoe Deutsch and Patrick Wilson and Bob Odenkirk and Johnny Knoxville. And to see them like with their dog unlocks something. It's really like so humanizing. It puts them at ease. We see the real person behind the cultivated image, and I'm having a blast. I'm so thrilled with this. So thank you for letting me expose the world to it a little bit on your podcast.
So obviously, Josh, you're what I would consider like the celebrity interviewer extraordinaire. You've talked to everybody in Hollywood, but you've, like you said, you've unlocked something here with Who's a Good Guest or Who's a Good Guest. You have these celebrities talking to you while like their dogs are running around and on their laps and everything like that. I was just watching that first episode of Dylan O'Brien, and he is, first of all, I think the most perfect human in the world. I don't know like what secret he has unlocked to celebrity that he's figured out how to be like cool and sexy and also relatable and mega talented. But there is something about having this pet running around that like I think disarms them in a way. Like, what have you found changes in an interview because they have their little furry friend there?
Yeah, it's honestly nothing I even can take credit for. This was not part of the plan. I just thought it would be fun to like have a celebrity interview with a dog around. And then I found as we started to shoot these, and Dylan was one of the first ones we shot, they are truly a different version of themselves and a more true version of themselves. In the Dylan O'Brien episode, we're seeing him like be both loving and a disciplinarian in the best way. Like, I mean, my God, this guy has the best trained dog ever. Tony is his dog. And like to see the side of Dylan where, he embraces like being a parent in many ways, where, as a dog parent, I take my parentage seriously. And to see him kind of like embrace that as much, if not, as much as his acting. Like, I've interviewed him 1,000 times as an actor. I have never seen this side of him. So, it's really cool. I mean, like, yeah, we partnered, by the way, I should give props to Bark. Bark is this amazing brand that, like, has given me, like, such autonomy on this, hasn't, like, you know, get the guests I want, the creative I want, like, just basically said, "Go do your thing, Josh." So, like, all credit to them to giving me the license to do this. But, but yeah, like, I don't know, if you watch the Dylan O'Brien episode as you have, you'll see, like, he is so damn happy with that dog out in the park. That's the park they go to see them in their environment. That's the park that Dylan suggested we go to that specific place. Um, there was no, how it is with, like, celebrity interviews, like, the time constraints and everything, like, the watching the clock. He came, and this is to a man to all the guests. They come, they are so happy to be there. What here's the other thing I realized, by the way, Kevin, is halfway through, like my first shoot with Zoe Deutsch, I was like, "Oh, wait, I am shooting this high-end, gorgeous piece of, like, memorabilia for them. This is like a documented, like, gorgeous piece of film that they get to have with them to document their love of their dog." It's a home movie. It's a beautiful high-end home movie. So I found that, like, I share the photos and the video with the actors afterwards, and they are like so, so grateful. Dylan sent me the sweetest text after he saw the finished product. He's like, "I'm gonna treasure this forever." I don't get that from most of my interviews. I don't get that follow-up.
And as you and I know, like, often trying to book a celebrity interview requires this exhausting email chain of publicists and teams and looping people in and concessions and negotiations and all this like really boring stuff. I'm very curious what it was like when you're like, hey, maybe just bring your dog here. Like, what was that response like from these people's teams?
Yeah. It was somewhere in between, "Hey, can you just bring your dog?" and what the earlier version of it you described. So it's like, yeah, booking is always a thing. I was a booker before I was an interviewer, but luckily, I've been doing this long enough that I have good relationships, people trust me, and, booking was a challenge only in that it's a big time commitment. This is not like a 20-minute interview. This is like, a couple hours of their time. They have to go to a specific location. They have to bring their dog. But I will say, for a show that had, like, very little proof of concept, everybody jumped right in, and most of the guests I'm having on this first batch of episodes are folks that I've known for a bit and just bought into the concept and were kind enough to go with the flow. So, I think if anything, honestly, not that this was a challenging thing to book, but I'm excited to make more because now we have 6 great examples of what we can do. And as you probably realize and know, we all know, like, half the planet are crazy dog parents, and like there is no end in sight of like opportunity to talk to, you know, I want to talk to, like, the Chris Evans, the like, Dave Bautista is a famous dog parent, but Millie Bobby Brown. Like, I have an endless list of folks on my list if we get to continue this.
And again, the genius part of this is that like people have this idea of celebrities as being on this like pedestal, like out of touch, where they have this glamorous life. But there's nothing more equalizing than just being a pet owner. Like I love the idea of Dylan O'Brien and Patrick Wilson just like picking up dog poo. Like
Oh yeah.
that's like something that like just puts us all on the same level.
There's no you can't train a dog to a degree to be like, "Look, make me look good on camera today." No, they are, and it's so funny to see, like, all the footage we have of, like, all these folks. Like, I mean, Johnny Knoxville's episode with his dog Bucket, it's like you couldn't go to central casting and cast a better dog for Johnny Knoxville. It is the Johnny Knoxville version of a dog. It's crazy in the best way. You can't control Bucket. Bucket is all over the place. So, like, we're just kinda holding on to each other through that interview, like, hoping Bucket will stay put or stay in the shot. So, yeah, it's like you can only pretend to be a version of yourself for so long when a dog has to go to the bathroom, wants to run out of the shot, is barking at something. So it is, as you say, like a great equalizer and just like it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to humanizing a celebrity, which is awesome.
Yeah. And like just so listeners know, like when I say that you've interviewed everybody, you have interviewed everyone. And like all those viral like TikTok videos that people see of like celebrities at press junkets, typically it's you're the person who has interviewed that person. And so I'm curious, like given that experience, what what did this come from? Where you're like, how can I still be doing this, but like from a different direction? Let's bring in a dog. Like were you thinking about how do I make this celebrity interview life that I have like slightly fresh?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing too calculating, honestly, but my greatest successes have come out of just, like, being restless and wanting to try something different within the format that I do. Like, at the end of the day, I interview folks. I have conversations with folks. That's what I'm good at. That's what I do. That being said, there are 1,000 ways to skin that cat. I mean, that's like you can figure out different ways in. And, throughout my career, whether it was, starting my podcast 12 years ago, Happy, Sad, Confused. I started that 12 years ago simply because I had been doing, short form interviews at press junkets and I was restless and no one paid me to do Happy, Sad, Confused. I started in my office at MTV. Nobody knew I was doing it. I wasn't really supposed to be doing it. It was my podcast. Um, Truly, my greatest successes have been born out of like, I just want to do this. Like, I just want to make it. Like, I'm not looking to like become a millionaire off of Who's a Good Guest, though I'll take the $1 million, but like, I want to do it because I want to do it. And it's less about like I got to stay fresh and relevant. It's more about like not making myself bored.
Yeah.
So that's what this show was born out of.
And I made that joke earlier about like chicken wings, but the fact is, like in our field, a gimmick is sort of replacing what we do. And I'm curious how you feel about that. Like, obviously, bringing in a pet is, I mean, I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but it is.
It's an angle. Yes.
But like, what do you make of this transition to like, you have to be eating a chicken wing and talking about how spicy it is in order for an interview to actually like be greenlit or go viral or like be worth something?
Yeah, it's look, I've been doing this like a couple decades, so I've seen kind of the evolution, and I feel like I've been part of the good and the bad and the ugly of this evolution because I was that guy, kind of as you referenced, like who was doing junkets way back when and was just like bringing silly, weird games to junkets like really early on. Like I'm not taking it, saying it's like take credit for it because it's not like something I'm necessarily proud of, although I'm proud of a lot of the silly things I did. What I'm less proud of is that like everybody else does it now, and you can't walk into like a junket or a press interview as you referenced without a silly angle. So, like, I contain multitudes. I love doing a 45-minute serious deep dive conversation with Christopher Nolan or Emerald Fennell yesterday and like going geeky and going hard and reveling in like my film knowledge and my pop culture love. And I still like a silly game. I still like all of that. So, like, I think the problem that I see out there are folks that wanna kinda skip to the crazy thing, and the reason I'm successful, and I think folks like Sean Evans are successful and Amelia Chicken Shop is, like, underneath that gimmick is actual knowledge and care for a good interview.
Mhm.
So, you're only gonna go so far with, like, "Let's jump out of a roller coaster while it's going." No, you have to have, I believe, a real bedrock of some actual genuine interest and passion and knowledge for something to be sustainable. At least that's what I've found in my case.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier about this podcast and this footage serving as like a home movie for the guests and like something that they will probably turn to for like a comfort watch.
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you, is there like an interview that you've done or a video that you have that sometimes you just rewatch because you're like, oh, this makes me feel good. Like I'm happy with how that went. I'm so proud of it. Like I just watch it to make myself feel better today.
Oh, that's a funny question. I like that. I mean, look, the nature of TikTok and Instagram and all of it is like, I don't need to seek it out. It comes back around every once in a while. And the stuff that usually comes back around is the stuff that like I don't necessarily like put on the pedestal. It's like, of course, in my 20-year history of interviewing folks, like the viral clip that always comes back around is like when I mistook Keanu Reeves for his wrong Bill and Ted character. And people are like, this jerk doesn't remember which like, I mean, of course, it's whatever. And since then, I've interviewed Keanu 12,000 times. But no, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say I return to stuff, but like the things that stand out for me, I've had a very, very lucky run in that, like, not only the podcast, but hosting stuff for MTV as much as I have over the years and doing big red carpets. Like I think of, standing on an aircraft carrier hosting the Top Gun Maverick world premiere.
My God. Yeah.
I'm at the I'm at the head of that carrier, and Tom Cruise arrives in a helicopter and comes straight to me off of that helicopter.
No big deal.
Like that, no big deal. It was a big deal. It was a big freaking deal. It's still a big freaking deal. And the full circle of that, if folks follow me, I've had this like silly, fake, but not so fake obsession with getting on the Tom Cruise cake, the famous cruise cake list,
Yes.
the white chocolate coconut cake. For
Yeah.
those who don't know, Tom has like this crazy, list of collaborators and friends that he sends a cake to every year of the holiday season. And again, I've been privileged. I've interviewed Tom a lot of times. I hosted a Mission Impossible premiere. I've hosted a Top Gun premiere. I'm like, you know what? With all due respect, I deserve to be on that coconut cake list. So at the last Mission Impossible premiere, I shot my shot and I said to Tom, the only thing I love more than Tom Cruise movies is coconut cake. And Kevin, 7 months later, I got my coconut
Oh
cake.
my God. How was it?
It's honestly amazing. Truly, I would tell you otherwise. It's amazing. Small, compact, but amazing. And of course, like my first thought as a neurotic is like, okay, I got it. Now, how do I stay on the list? Like next year, I'm going to be devastated if I'm off the list. But yeah, like that's a silly example of something like I wouldn't say I take pride in, but I love like the journey I've been on and the full circle kind of connections and moments I've made that yeah, then bring a smile to my face. That's one.
I mean, even beyond getting on the coconut cake list, you just spending that entire anecdote just casually referring to him as Tom, to me is
No,
already.
I hope I don't sound like the asshole that I don't want to be.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean like it must be surreal to be familiar enough with Tom Cruise that like this like major star that you can like tell a story about Tom, this person that you know.
It's the craziest stuff for me are the folks that I grew up on, like the folks that I grew up obsessed with, like obsessed. I was obsessed with Winona Ryder growing up, like childhood crush, and like I know Winona Ryder now. Like I like legitimately like I can text Winona.
Oh my God.
Like I'll get every random time I get a text from her. No, this is the best achievement of my career. Like every time the 7 times she's randomly texted me is like my heart skips 12 beats. Like it's like childhood Josh cannot fathom that Winona Ryder knows who he is, let alone thinks to say, "Hey, I watched Dracula last night, and I know you're obsessed with Dracula. I was thinking of you." Like, what? What is my life?
You're a person that like because of your personal history with their career, like made you the most tongue tied going into an interview.
Um, yeah, there's some. Well, it's the ones that I don't have like time to prep for. I remember, oh, this is a random weird one. But like I was interviewing, remember that movie that Clint Eastwood directed with Angelina Jolie? It was like it wasn't a great one. I can't even honestly remember the name of it. I was scheduled to sit down with Clint Eastwood, which in and of itself, super intimidating. This is at a junket. He's only doing a few interviews, and he passes in the hallway going into the room that I'm going to talk to him in. Angelina Jolie, who's also doing some interviews elsewhere, and he says to Angelina, "Hey, would you mind when do you come in here and do this interview with me with this guy?" I know. So like this is relatively early in my career, so it's one thing to sit down with Clint Eastwood, and it's another to come in with like, "Hey, oh, by the way, here is mega global star at the height of her powers, Angelina Jolie, who I have not prepped for, to sit down next to him." So like I remember that one as like, okay, this was not on my bingo card. None of this was on my bingo card. Talk to Clint, Angelina, let alone together with no prep. So I'm pretty good at like shutting down the um the pop culture obsessive part of my brain that's like
Mm.
geeking out, like and letting myself enjoy it after the fact.
Yes.
Otherwise I wouldn't be able to function because I have so many of these like crazy moments with celebrities I absolutely adore.
You also have this experience that not a lot of people in our field have, which is you get to talk to Marvel stars and DC comic stars before the movie opens. Usually, when I get to talk to these people, it's after the movie is out. There's no risk of spoiling things. We all know what happened in the film. But you talk to these people when they're on like high alert about not spoiling something. Has there ever been a time where you've like watched in real time one of these Marvel stars start to spoil something and then like have to like bite their tongue or backtrack or like have a panic attack because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that dance. Like, I'm not I don't want look, let's just set the record straight. I don't want, like, Mark Ruffalo or Tom Holland to, like, spill the next Spider-Man plot. Like, who wants that? I don't want that. But it's a fun dance to, like, poke at them and, like, try to ask about the next Marvel movie and see how they play it off or not. I mean, the kind of semi-famous one that I think of um, Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield, who I was doing an interview I did a series of interviews with. I think that the famous one that kind of went viral was this is the rumors were flying that he was gonna be in Spider-Man: No Way Home, and, I was doing him for my podcast, for a movie called Mainstream, which nobody saw. This is a small movie, I think Gia Coppola directed it, and, I I don't think I even brought up I don't think I ever asked the question, like, "Are you in the next Spider-Man movie?" He was so prepped, and I think he knew that I would wanna potentially go there, that, like, as soon as I said the words, like, "Spider-Man" in the course of the conversation, he so overcompensates a denial that he's not in the movie, that everybody on the internet, once they saw that, was like, "Oh, he's of course in Spider-Man. What kind of psychopath would go to that extreme, like, after a guy doesn't even like I never asked the question. I was just like, "So there's a new Spider-Man movie coming up," and he's basically like, "I'm not in it. I don't know what you're well, you don't even start," like, "Okay, okay, you're protesting a little much, Andrew." So, that one and the fun part of that, again, these full circle moments was I had him back. He did I think I was, like, the only, like, extended on-camera interview he did after No Way Home came out
Right.
that dealt with the aftermath, and he came on back on, I think, partially because we had that moment, and he wanted to kinda, like, mea culpa, kind of apologize for lying to me, and I literally played him that extended denial for him to react to, and to watch him to react to his own overacting is so fun to look at. Yeah. And, I've had so many back when J.J. Abrams was doing Star Wars movies, he was the best at deflecting and trying to poke at anything, and he's just, like he's so smart, so quick, so funny. I like that kind of, like, silly repartee about spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Andrew is one of the best people to talk to. I've talked to him before, and he's like so nice and so sweet and so charming. Um, but what I found, and I've actually found it to be very interesting throughout my career, is the question that people always ask me is who was the meanest celebrity or like who was like hard to work with. I would have thought that people would be like most interested in like who was fun and great and like who gave you this like treasured experience. But everyone always asks me like who sucked. Like, do you find that in
No,
your
me too.
yeah.
Oh, 1,000,000%. That is the go-to, and I always say to them, which what is true, which is like 99% of my experiences are great because why would they be a jerk to me on camera so I can, like, spread this video of them acting aloof or, like, it behooves them to be at their most charming selves with folks like us.
Yes.
So, thankfully, my stories are really good. Like, I've got mostly great experiences with folks. I mean, yeah, I've seen some folks that I wouldn't wanna talk to again and folks that just shut down and are needlessly abrasive. I'm not gonna name their names now because but I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah, and I have 2 people that come to mind immediately now that I will never talk to them again, and I actually, like, when people like, I would have thought that I would be, like, demure when people ask this question of, like, who was the worst to talk to, but over the years, I'm just like, "Nope, it was these 2 people." I'm not gonna say it publicly.
You catch me at a party, you catch me whatever, I'll yeah, sure, I'll talk. 'Cause and probably your 2 names are could probably be on my list too. Generally speaking, like, the 10 jerks are the 10 jerks that are jerks to everybody.
Yeah. I will tease that a project this person was a part of has come up in this conversation already for me.
Oh
So
god, now I'm gonna have to go back to the tape, okay.
but I, wanna finish by just kind of doing this sort of, like, sprint through a few big celebrity names that I know you've talked and I just wanna hear, like, what your first memory or thought of is your interaction with them. So, first, let's start with Jennifer Lawrence.
I was hoping you would bring up Jennifer Lawrence. She's one of my favorites. Yeah, so Jennifer Lawrence, the first time I think I met her was she had been cast in Hunger Games. She had been nominated for probably Winter's Bone by then, and we shot this crazy promo. I was hosting the MTV Movie Awards red carpet that year, and she agreed to do this promo where she was like putting me through my paces and like teaching me how to interview folks. And I just like I fell in love with her right there. She is smart. She is funny. She reminds me a lot of Charlize Theron, who I also have a lot of great experiences with. Kind of like a ball busting, no nonsense, um, tough in the best possible way person to talk to, and had so many great experiences with her. I've done shots with her on carpets. I've asked I've asked her to for Hunger one of the Hunger Games movies. We did a campfire scene where I asked her to what's the like chubby hubby, like where you put as many marshmallows in your mouth and you try to like say something. So she took that so seriously. The video's out there. She took that so seriously. I literally almost watched Jennifer Lawrence choke to death stuffing like 20 marshmallows in her mouth. Yeah, she's the best.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans is great, and Chris Evans has mellowed. I think has gotten more comfortable over the years because he owns this. He's talked about this of having like social anxiety. The first times he was going to like Comic-Con and stuff, and I experienced that too with him. I saw him kind of like not feel like comfortable in his own skin. Um, Now to the point where like things he's great. Like the last time I talked to him was with Dakota Johnson. We're materialists, and he was really great talking about like his favorite rom-com tropes or like Notebook versus La La Land and debating that with Dakota.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So I like kind of where Chris Evans is at now versus like early on where he felt like he was a little nervous to say too much about anything. He just feels like he's done it, so he's more comfy.
And one of my favorite people to watch squirm during Marvel interviews, Mark Ruffalo.
I love Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo is really great. What's a good Mark Ruffalo story? We did a big for one of the Avengers movies. I did a thing that went viral where I was showing close up photos of everybody's biceps in the cast to them. Like, can I ID the star from the bicep? And I'll never forget. It was like all these like jacked, it's like Hemsworth, even RDJ, like these like jacked biceps. And then it was like the photo I put up for Mark and everybody of Mark was kind of this like supple, sweet, just very relatable bicep in like this purple t-shirt. And everybody was like, it's Mark, isn't it? And Mark even reacted. He's like, that's me. I know that's me. And just, um, yeah, no, what a guy, a great guy, great actor. I love that. Like he's kind of cracked the code too, doing like, now he's in Task and he's still like,
Task is such a good show.
and they're doing another season, right? Yeah, no, big fan. Totally.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is if there's someone that you've recently interviewed who like might be coming up that like you got like a good vibe from, a spark that you think like this person is gonna be a big deal. Is there anyone like that that you've recently talked to?
Yeah, let me think. I think, I interviewed Drew Starkey for the movie with Daniel Craig, blanking on it, Queer, right? Yeah. I thought he was great in the film. I hadn't seen his other work, and he jumped out at me as somebody with a good head on his shoulders, making the right decisions. This is not the kind of person you're talking about, but honestly, I was super impressed when Jacob Elordi did the podcast with me a few months back. Um, Again, like, talk about a guy who's kind of, like, very rapidly kinda surpassed, I think, expectations and what his career would be, and
He's an Oscar nominee right now. Like,
he's an Oscar nominee. Oscar, yeah. Wuthering Heights is gonna be huge. He's an Oscar nominee. I wouldn't be shocked if they cast him as Bond, like, I don't know. I think he's poised, like, he has played his cards perfectly, and I was just frankly really impressed in our conversation of, like, how seriously he took the work and how knowledgeable he was. So, yeah, I'm a convert. I'm a big Jacob fan now.
yeah. And like a different layer to that question, is there someone who has become a huge deal that you had interviewed early in their career and you were like, I knew this person was going to be big, like a Pedro Pascal kind of thing, where like early on you're like, had such a great vibe from this person, and now look at them.
Yeah. I mean, look, I early in my days at MTV was Twilight's days. So at the time, I think I was like the world's like foremost authority on both Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. I probably interviewed them more than any other human being on the planet just from those days. And Kristen especially, to anybody in the know, like we knew she had the goods. She had already been doing like really cool indies and stuff prior to, during, and right after Twilight. So I don't want to pat myself too much on the back to say that Kristen Stewart was going to be huge because a lot of people thought so. Pattinson, I don't even know if I want to take credit for it. I more want to cite it as like what a a guy again that's played his cards perfectly and kind of like put in the time with the right filmmakers. Because I covered him during Twilight, but then what I saw him do immediately thereafter of like, oh, I'm going to do a couple like really small David Cronenberg movies and Claire Denis and just like work with like these really cool filmmakers, David Michaud, and like not try to jump into like big blockbuster territory, just like pay my dues. So I wouldn't even say like I would take credit for IDing that. It's more of like, I want to say like props to you, Robert Pattinson. Like you did it the right way. Like you didn't try to skip ahead.
Yeah, like the coolest actor there is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, like working with the best filmmakers and he's Batman. Like he's cracked the code. Yeah.
And finally, obviously, it's behind me everywhere. This is Obsessed the podcast. I'm curious if there's something you're watching right now that you think is unmissable, that you're obsessed with. Like, what are you obsessed with right now?
Um, not a novel one to bring up, and it's a kind of a surprise obsession the last year is like, I'm a few episodes ahead on screeners. I'm loving The Pit. I love The Pit. The Pit is kind of a comfort. It's perfect. It's so satisfying.
You see, it's a comfort.
It is. It's insane. It is traumatizing, and I hate hospitals. I hate blood. I hate all of the stuff it's about, and yet something about it. I don't know if it's the format. It's that 25 years ago I was watching ER,
Yeah.
and it's back to that in my brain. There's something about it that I could just like give me more. I love that they're shooting it quickly, and that it's like feed me more. I could watch 25 episodes a year of The Pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's probably the top of my list right now.
I've said this before in this podcast, but The Pit has changed my life because I now know that if I have a medical emergency, I will end up being naked in front of an entire hospital of people. The way they rip off people's clothes in that show has radicalized me.
In a good way or bad way. Now you're just psychologically ready for it.
I'm now living my life more cautiously. I'm not
That's
I'm not
good.
crossing the street before the walk sign because I'm afraid of being hit by a car and then being naked in an ER.
So, hey, whatever works as a deterrent. God bless The Pit. Thank you for that. Keeping our clothes on.
All right. Well, Josh, this has been a lot of fun. I loved your interviews forever, and I'm such a big fan of Who's a Good Guest.
Thank you so much. Thanks for shining a light on this. And yeah, every Wednesday, new episodes on my YouTube, on Parks YouTube. Check it out. This is a wholesome, good fun for everybody. So I hope everybody gets a kick out of it. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. I love the conversation, except for the part where you didn't tell me how I get on that Tom Cruise coconut cake train. This bitch is hungry. I went on. In any case, please comment. Did you figure out who I was talking about when I mentioned the two celebrities who I've hated the most that I've talked to? I'm still not gonna say, but leave a comment if you have a guess. Also, of course, please subscribe to us on YouTube at The Obsessed channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, maybe you like me and wanna follow me on Substack too, at obsessed.substack.com. Thank you to our producers, Devin Roggerino and Rachel Passer, and I'll see you next time.